One. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Gary Kay, and we're coming to you live on day 3 of the Enterprise Connect show. It's actually the end of the show. The show just closed, but we've been broadcasting every day thanks to Panicast. Altia Systems, our partner on these first ever live broadcasts from the show floor of Enterprise Connect. I'm excited to be joined with Panicast founder, rAVe Khan. rAVe, how are you?
Hey, Gary. Great to be back. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And of course, as you know, Altia Systems was recently acquired by GN Audio, as our listeners and our viewers know. We have a representative from GN Audio there that's going to answer a couple of questions. If you don't mind introducing the people in your room at rAVe first.
Yeah, Adam is with GN Audio and has been helping us with customer visits and meetings and conversations. Very, very happy to have you here. And then Zarina from our marketing team, and of course, Jacob.
Jacob's covering the show along with the rest of our team down at in Orlando at Enterprise Connect. They're actually coming to you live from the booth, the GN Audio booth at Jabra. It's actually a Jabra conference room on the conference room floor. The booth itself, you can see a live shot of it over there on the right. We got a couple of Panicast the team members there live in the booth itself. They're going to help us demonstrate some people detection features. And then we're going to see in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that we have Cupertino, which is where Panicast is now GN Audio Jabra's group, part of Panicast, part of that group is located. That's where the company was founded. rAVe, first off, how was the show? Tell me about Enterprise Connect, a 3-day show, and what do you think?
Well, Gary, one sign of a good show is I lose my voice. So I've lost my voice. Been doing a lot of pitching and talking, walking around the show floor, seeing what's going on. We're just getting some great resonance to our ability to give you 100% video, audio, and data coverage. And just been very exciting to have a number of meetings with the GN Audio and Jabra folks with our shared customers, and I'm sure Adam will tell us more about that. So, it's been a great show. A lot of traffic. It's been the best amount of traffic we've had here in the last couple of times, and just a real pickup. And it's interesting, found a lot of folks coming by very curious to implement the data capabilities. So about a year ago, people were sort of thinking about it, but now it's right there. Everybody wants to use it and start doing practical things with it. So that's been a big high point for us.
Well, that brings me to my first question to the gentleman from GN Audio. I want to ask, obviously you've been talking to a lot of customers for the last 3 days. This must be sparking some development, collaboration ideas of marrying video and audio together. What can we expect?
I mean, the obvious question that starts coming out is when, and we're all like, soon, we promise. but overall, the great thing is, picking up the inherent story that's coming out, talking about the collaboration space and going out in front of the customers and saying, this is going to be an important next step in the communication and how we're going to work together. It's going to be audio, it's going to be video, and having a solution that is so distinct and different versus everything else that's already in the market today has just been a natural pickup. And the simple things, the 180-degree view. It's not just about capturing all of us in the meeting room, which is the obvious benefit, but then it's about things like real estate, because these are real problems we talk about. These are problems we talk about with all of our customers, because there's just more and more of us working in less space. Those sort of values start to really resonate when we speak to a customer.
Yeah, and Jacob, you've been walking around the show floor, and certainly one of the companies that's dominating the discussion at Enterprise Connect, and as always at many, many shows, even shows they don't exhibit at, is Google. I mean, obviously Google sort of tried to launch for the last 10 years. They've sort of made attempts to launch products into the UCC space, some success, but really now they've got some momentum with the G Suite, what was the G Suite suite of products, and of course Hangouts. Tell us what they showed at Enterprise Connect.
Yeah, certainly. So I spent some time in Google's booth here, and I also went to a talk by one of their product managers. They talked a lot about the increased enhancements to Hangouts, Drive, and Voice, all a part of the products in their G Suite range. They talked a lot about how workplace is becoming workspace as we see people working more in open office environments or working from home, telecommuters, things of that nature. They're also talking about the space in and of itself and the need for technology to improve to how people are beginning to work in a workspace type of things. One statistic that kind of resonated to me in the talk was how 43% of employees are starting to introduce workarounds because the collaboration software isn't working as planned. So the disruptions that I think that GN Audio and Altia Systems are going to come out with in the coming months and weeks, I guess, will help address some of those problems so that we're not having as many workarounds, because that's one of the biggest things that this market of the industry is facing at this moment.
Now, obviously, we're broadcasting live from the Enterprise Connect show, California, Orlando, and Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where I'm from, at the University of North Carolina. We are doing this through Zoom, but at the same time, Altia Systems, your Panicast product, is a product that basically can allow you to connect to anyone's cloud, including the Google Cloud, including Skype, including Teams, including et cetera, and even your competition. Some of your competition has cloud-based systems. You're compatible with all of them. But where do you see your place in the ecosystem of everyone else?
I think both the GN Audio products ourselves built on a philosophy of open collaboration, working with everybody, being best in class at what we do, and we're going to of course improve that and build even more capability. But kind of the goodness of Panicast fundamentals, the wall-to-wall video, audio, and data, it's being picked up. We've had a number of folks come by, actually, including competitors, trying to figure out how they could, create something. And the fact is, there's nothing quite like it out there. Everybody else is still building a single camera with those traditional ultra-wide-angle lenses or motorized movements, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then ultimately, if they do come up with something like that, they might be talking to an attorney first. So I want to ask you, we didn't finish, and that came out of my mouth, not yours, rAVe. I want to finish where we left off yesterday. I wanted you to demonstrate the object detection feature of the Panicast system. I kind of call it a system because it's really not just a camera, and this is a good example of that. So if we could turn into your team in Cupertino while you tell us about it, rAVe.
Naveed and John are there. John is one of our key developers, and Naveed is the VP for software engineering. Naveed, John, you guys want to take over? You're muted right now, John, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. On the screen is open source software, and we actually downloaded it from internet with minimum effort. We compiled it. It works with our camera perfectly. And this benefited from the value proposition of Panicast camera. The first is 180-degree field of view. And if the camera is used as a sensor, it's important for the camera to see everything in the room. And otherwise, there's always blind spots, and then the function of as a sensor get diminished if you don't see everything. And the second thing is our camera has very low distortion, and there are other solutions in the market, and they use a fisheye camera, and they try to figure out the objects in the room. And with the modern algorithm, it's very difficult. The algorithm you are seeing on the screen is CNN-based. It's trained for roughly 9,000 different objects. And it relies on a feature called translation invariance. That means even if wherever the object is on the picture, as long as it's captured in the picture, and the form of that object should look the same. And with the fisheye camera, we know it's different.
Yeah, and that's demonstrated. You can see how there's not very much distortion at all. But it's interesting how it called out those items. Do you have to label those the first time that it sees them? How smart is that? If we could go back to rAVe, if you could turn that off so we can go back to rAVe, because you basically have control of my screen right now, and go back to our quad screen here. rAVe, could you explain to me how that works? Do you have to label those, or is that automatic because it's being used so many times, it's figuring out what objects are? How smart is it?
I think the way these were trained, Gary, far as I understand, and John's kind of our in-house expert here, is that in the beginning they are labeled. So you give it a start point, and as it progresses, it gets better and better through usage and through iterative learning. There's also, I think, John, you've talked about transfer learning. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that process, because it's easy to actually add new objects. If there's a particular thing that you want to recognize, you can start with, I think, a few hundred shots that are labeled. And then that'll be a seed, and it'll start working from that, right, John?
Yeah, exactly. We are actually training some of our own objects, like a whiteboard. We did a few hundred pictures, and it's giving amazing results.
Yeah, so so basically you give it a reference, and it gets smarter over time. It's machine learning, obviously, and AI. So it's going to continue to learn, and it's going to, not all chairs are made the same, but as that device, more and more people sit in it says, well, that must be a chair, and so forth. So that makes logical sense. I want to take and ask kind of a shift gears a little bit here and talk about Blue Jeans. Blue Jeans launched something kind of interesting at the show with Dolby and their voice rooms. Jacob, did you have a chance to go by and look at that, or are you too busy to go by and see that?
I did have a brief second to go and touch base with Blue Jeans. So they were showing off a couple of products. We talked about their Blue Jeans Gateway for Microsoft Teams briefly, but then the big news was Rooms as a Service.
Yeah, so that's what I'm interested in, is that they finally we're getting AV as a service, Rooms as a service. How does it explain how that works? Because you have to have some hardware.
Certainly. So there's a single device on the table, and they partnered with Dolby with the Dolby conference room. That's a single device that's on the table. However, I think one of the biggest differentiating factors is it allows for IT managers to control all of the deployments centrally. So there is no hardware other than that one device, but it's all controlled over the network.
What's the camera? They have to have a camera as well, right? So is it USB connectivity, or what? How did that work?
Yeah, so it's just a USB connectivity, and to my knowledge, you can use any camera on the market. So this would be a great opportunity to implement a PanaCast 3 with that as well. Yeah, so it's a partnership initially with Dolby, but so it's a
yeah, I think they're using the Dolby Room, the Dolby voice room system that's supposed to make audio just so much better. I mean, Dolby's doing a really good job of sort of rebranding themselves outside of the movie theater, and we all know Dolby is a brand. And I think that's a good way to go. And as a service, I think this is in my crystal ball for 2019. I don't know how many of you actually read it. If you read it, you saw that I talked about how I think AV as a service is going to finally be a big thing to catch on. I had predicted it as 2018, but I think the problem is the market wasn't mature enough and the devices weren't mature enough. Aurangzeb, as we go to an as a service environment, can you see yourself, now that you have a partner in the audio side, building some kind of an all-in-one device? Because here's one of the weaknesses that I see. If you want to use what we're doing now, if you want to do what we're doing now, something's got to host the Zoom client. And for the most part, that's going to be a PC or a Mac or something like that. Can you see a day where you're building some piece of hardware that can actually host the soft codec system as well? And I'm not saying for you to make one yourself. I actually don't think that's a good idea for you, because I think you're in a good position to ride around not competing with anybody and working with everybody, in my opinion. So I'm just curious if you've thought about that from a hardware perspective.
You know, as you said, we've had a number of the folks who make devices like that reach out to us, Gary, because, we're best in class at what we do, and I think similarly with GN and the audio capabilities. So we can easily imagine that, this could be a best of class solution, combining a couple of different products, making it very easy for the customer to just have a single wire connectivity and everything comes up and starts to be used.
I mean, this was touched on earlier about at least the approach that we have, which is very agnostic in the sense of that multiple customers that we work with will run sometimes even multiple different systems. And if you have to segment just into one system, you're going to have an issue where then partners need to start buying multiple pieces of hardware. You need to manage all of that, and that becomes complex in an environment where if us as the users in that business space are getting used to all of our consumer devices being easy, simple to use, and then they're going to bring that expectation into the work office. And if that doesn't work that way, they're going to call IT. It's a help ticket. IT then needs to fix something. They're going to be very upset with the integration. So that approach at least needs to be applied to everything that we do. From our side.
And as a user, wish I had water here. I'm about to dry up. As a user, one of the things that I have found that I would love to see, and I know this is right now not within your control, it's more within the control of you and your partners from PanaCast, is, for example, when I'm teaching at UNC, they have a PanaCast in the front and the back of the room. I have it so that somebody joins the room can see either view, right? They can see as if they're sitting there as a student, but they can also see when they're presenting. So when I bring in guests that present, they can see the students as a presenter in the front of the room. As a student who misses class, they can sit in the class with the rest of the students with the same perspective. As one of the problems I have is that I have to manually switch those cameras within Zoom. What would be awesome for me, and I've written to, of course, I've written to Zoom about this. What would be awesome for me is if that was automated and it could know what I want based on gesture or talking to the system, because it's listening to me. It knows that I'm talking. Why couldn't I? No, I'm not saying Alexa. I'm not saying it has to be something like that. It could be something more simple than that. I just said that, and half the devices in my office are saying, what? But it could be something. I mean, so I would love to see a challenge. It's a challenge for you to be thinking about that. In the meantime, I want you to demonstrate the whiteboard feature, because this is one of the coolest things with that distortion, anti-distortion technology algorithm that you have, or whatever you call it. The fact that you can make a whiteboard on the far end look rectangular, even though it's at an odd angle.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to pass it back to Naveed and Osman. I think is going to drive that demo here, Gary.
Yeah. So Osman has just joined me. He's the key software engineer who has developed this whiteboard sharing application. So as you can see that you are watching our video as a regular video, and this is a zoomed in view from Panacast. And I will just zoom out to show you what the Panacast camera is really capturing. So it's capturing the full room, and whiteboard is one of the objects. So the intelligence we have in the Panacast Vision application is to go find this whiteboard, carve it out of the room, and make it a shareable kind of content, and with all the distortions corrected, as you mentioned that the whiteboard is has all kinds of the viewing angle is different. So I will let Osman kind of drive that switch for you, and it acts like a magic, I guess.
So what's pretty cool about this is everything is happening from the same camera. So the video that you see of us is coming through our Panacast Vision app. So it's showing you that fully panoramic view. And what I'm going to do is also I'm going to share my whiteboard content share window.
Right. And the same camera that's shooting you is now going to shoot just the whiteboard and send just the whiteboard basically peeled out of that larger image.
Exactly.
And so you guys can see that the whiteboard has been flattened out, and the text also has been corrected. And same with the rectangular.
Yeah, it's hard to really realize what you're looking at here, but if you think about the fact that this room is a rectangle and you're looking at the entire room through one camera, so you're recorrecting and basically squaring up a whiteboard.
Yeah. Yep. And as you notice that the camera is still intact. You can watch the people, and now you can see the whiteboard has two different streams coming to you.
Coming to you two different. That's one camera sending both feeds at the same time. That's incredible. Hey, Jacob, one last question about the show floor. By the way, we've been covering the whole show floor for the last 3 days. You can check out our coverage of the show floor right here at ravepubs.com, Enterprise Connect EC 2019. ravepubs.com/EC2019. Thanks to Panacast for sponsoring this as well. But Jacob, right before ISE, Audinate dumped a surprise on everybody with Dante AV. Of course, Aurangzeb, as you know, Zarina, as you know, our industry is going over the network, right? So right now we're kind of hybrid, mostly RGB and HDMI and things like that. We're going to network and HDAC. We're going to network to be 1 gig, to H.264, H.265, 10 gig, 5 gig, all these different speeds depending on what you're trying to do. And Audinate launched something called Dante AV, which was basically it's a one gig highway through the Audinate Dante system. They're not providing the encoder and decoder, they're providing the highway inside of Dante, so you can run video on a currently existing Dante network. Do people understand what that was? An Enterprise Connect, or was that sort of like this one booth that really wasn't related directly to the show, Jacob?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm super glad you brought that up. I spoke with Josh Rush, who is a VP of sales for products, I think, at Audinate. We spoke earlier today. This is the first year that Audinate has exhibited at Enterprise Connect, and they saw the value in the UC space, and that's why they're here. A large focus of their presence. So they launched the Dante AV networking pavilion. That's what they called their booth. And they were co-exhibiting with companies like Sennheiser, Bose, and Soundtube. But the biggest focus was education. And I think that the one class that Josh said was the most popular is what is Dante? So it was just a true introduction to what Dante was into the UC space. So I think it was a great move for them to move into this market. But yeah, so some of the products that they did show, they showed the Sennheiser Team Connect 2, power share and control space from Bose. But like I said, the biggest focus for Audinate here at Enterprise Connect was that education factor.
In fact, Extron is a sponsor of our coverage at Enterprise Connect. They one of the first adopters of the Dante system. They've integrated into virtually every audio product. And ultimately, Aurangzeb, what Dante is the network. And everything's going to the network. We're doing this right today through the network.
Yeah. It'll make it easier to deploy and scale things.
Yep, and so let me ask. I would love the booth to turn on their microphone now because it's noisy there. People are tearing down the show. The show's getting ready to end. I want people to hear that that speakerphone that you have there, the microphone that you have there. Tell us what that is and do a little bit of talking, because I want to get a little plug in here for what GN Audio and what Jabra showed at the show.
Okay, hi, this is Shahab Bukai directly from the booth using a Jabra 710 speakerphone, and I can lift that and show that to you. So this is what we are using, and it's really very noisy here. There is a lot of people taking booth down, some drinking going on too.
So it's especially noisy.
People celebrating the end of the show, and we are so happy to be part of it, and we are coming live from that with the audio. Because of the network, the bandwidth allocated to video is slightly down, so our video is 640 by 360 for now, but over here we are getting a really good experience.
Yeah. Actually, this whole thing has gone remarkably well, considering we're connecting 3 sites simultaneously every night. I was very nervous about this. We did some special preparation behind the scenes, and we're doing some things that we don't want to tell people exactly how we're doing it, because some of that is our secret sauce. But Black Mirror kind of stuff. I love that TV show. But in any case, I want to thank everyone for participating in this. rAVe, your team has been phenomenal. I've really enjoyed working with you for the last couple of years.
So grateful.
Yeah, Zarina, you directed all this vision for how we're going to make this happen came from Zarina's brain. And I'll tell you, I'm really impressed with the history of Panicast. I wish I would have thought of it.
Well, thank you, Gary. You've been
so
right.
much, Gary.
And we're, this was awesome to pull this off, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think this is going to become, like you said, you're going to continue forward, and we'd love to keep being a part of it.
Yep.
Yeah, we're counting on Panicast to help us do that at InfoComm. We'll do this again at InfoComm. And look, thanks everyone for joining us. I'm just blown away how well this went. I want to thank our other sponsors, Logitech, Zoom. Of course, we're doing this through Zoom and Extron. Without them, we couldn't have covered the show, because ultimately we have to at least break even on doing these things, because we have to be able to make a living. But at the same time, we're trying to be the information source, the leader of information in the in information technology, audiovisual, and UCC technology. I would like to put in one plug, and that is we do have a dedicated UCC newsletter, which we started a couple of years ago, called rAVe UCC, and it's at ravepubs.com/subscribe. So I hope that you'll consider subscribing to that newsletter. I know all of you on here, for the most part, are subscribers. And we're really excited because it's the only publication that focuses only on the UCC market, which is a very narrowly focused market, but we also see huge potential in that market. So we're excited to be part of this market. rAVe, personal thank you to you for all the support, both on my classroom side, my business side, and also with supporting this video cast / streaming event that we've been doing.
Absolutely, Gary. I got to say, you guys are like this welcome site. Every show we go to, there's somebody with a rAVe shirt in the hallways, and you cover it so incredibly comprehensively.
Well, it's funny because behind the scenes, it's stressful. I will tell you, I'll speak on Jacob's behalf, but also we try to be as consistent as possible. And over the last 2 years, we quietly did a giant reskinning. We don't call it a rebranding, because I do know a little bit about branding since I teach it at UNC. And what we did was a little bit different than a full brand, because we didn't need to really change anything. We just need to reskin our look. And we kind of gone to this really simple purple and white and black look, and it's worked out so well. So we appreciate the opportunity to be able to show this in this kind of scenario. So thank you very much, everyone. And thanks for listening. All of our coverage, like I said, is right here at ravepubs.com. /EC2019. And thanks for watching, everyone, and have a fantastic day.
All right, you too. Take care. Bye-bye.